Hello, hello, Charmed family. I apologize for the delay and thank you for your patience in joining this live stream today. So it's time for our weekly charm discussion. Before we get into it, I do want to remind you that I posted a really awesome chat that I had with Melanie Diaz and Sarah Jeffrey from the Charmed Season 4 Virtual Roundtable. So I will leave a link here if you haven't checked it out yet. It's really fun, and they gave so much information on what we can expect in Season 4. I also wanted to give a shout out to StreamYard for making these live streams possible. It's so customizable and easy to record on their platforms, and just makes it so easy for me to bring in some of your comments, like Heather over here and Jocelyn. So yeah, if you are interested in making your own StreamYard account, you can use my affiliate link in the description box. And just in general, if you want to help support my channel and my charm content, feel free to drop me a super chat. It's greatly appreciated. So today we're talking Charmed Season 4, Episode 3. Mel is haunted by memories of her mysterious breakup with Ruby, while Maggie's demon hunting habits, they're going a little bit too far. They're starting to put a strain on her relationship with Jordan. Harry is beginning to train the new Charmed one, but everything gets derailed when we get more of this new villain, the Tallyman, wreaking havoc throughout the magical world. So yeah, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, let's break this down. So actually, before we even get into this episode, I do want to talk about this interview that K-Site TV did with Joey Falco, who's one of the showrunners, who was talking about the Tallyman this season. And I think that they said some really interesting things that I think we start to notice in this episode as well. So I think it's pretty relevant. So the interview, Joey Falco says the Tallyman is going to be a very different sort of villain than we've ever seen before. As we'll discover, he's not just a demon out for power, the sort of kind of villain that you've seen on the show before. He's more of an anarchist, or kind of more of a political villain who has a very specific goal in mind, and he's going to make life miserable for the Charmed ones and cause them to look inward and ask questions about who they are as women, who they are as heroes, who they are as witches. And I think people are going to be really surprised to see where that story goes and what the Tallyman is really about. And so already, I feel like we started seeing a little bit of that in this episode. And, you know, kind of, I mean, especially at the end of this episode, you know, what are, you know, what does it mean for these women to be heroes? And I think we especially see that in Maggie and kind of the struggle that she's going into. But let's start at the beginning of this episode. So first of all, we have Kayla trying to just, you know, become more a part of the crew. She makes this family dinner. I'm assuming that means friends/family dinner. And kind of unintentionally upsets everyone. It just seems like everyone is a bit sensitive about everything when it comes to the struggles that they're dealing with and the grief that they have, whether it's about Macy or about Ruby. Everybody's sort of burying their feelings and their emotions. And anytime any of these things are brought up, it's sort of like just ruins the mood, right? And so Kayla is sort of trying to figure out how to balance that. And, you know, this episode, we also see her working with Harry to, you know, learn more about what it means to be a charmed one, to learn about, you know, fighting and magic and everything like that. And, you know, I think with Harry, he's trying to kind of go by the book. He wants everything to be perfect. He wants to sort of have, you know, it sort of felt a little bit like a new version of Macy. Like Macy was, you know, always doing the right thing. And Kayla is sort of the opposite of that. She's not someone who's just going to follow the rules. She wants to get out, get her hands dirty. And so I think in that connection, we see that Harry's sort of struggling with, okay, I finally am starting to accept Kayla as part of this, you know, as a new charmed one, but also, you know, still struggling with missing Macy. And there's even a moment that I thought was really interesting where Kayla's sort of like, oh, Harry, you missed the family dinner. Like, what was going on there? And he's like, oh, like, I pretty much just eat my dinners at the magic tree. And I'm like, oh, the magic tree, that's where Macy is, you know, like so he's just, you know, still trying to connect with her and be with her. So I thought that was really interesting. And I think that you know, everyone's sort of dealing with these struggles and having a hard time being more vulnerable. And it does seem like Kayla, with her energy, is gonna interrupt that a bit and hopefully start drawing people out. I loved the first few moments of this episode where she's like cooking and she's dancing and she's jamming, and it just showed kind of the different energy that she's bringing into this group of people who are in such a dark place. um I do want to get now into Mel's story, which was kind of the focus, I think, of this episode, in a way of, backtracking and what really happened between Mel and Ruby. Mel is starting to have these bad dreams that are sort of like a combination of the Tally Man and what happened with Ruby. And, I think in that she wants to be able to be more powerful so that whenever they end up going against this person, they have everything they need. So she's like, all right, I gotta figure out how to get my time powers back, right? Which I know we all are very much excited to see that return, right? Like I can't wait to see her finally, hopefully, get that ability to control time again. And they sort of hint at something that I'm not sure if this is a version of her time powers or something like that. But while she's practicing her, trying to use that ability, she comes across some items that they still have of rubies, and specifically the champagne that she had for the two of them. And we get to see flashbacks through this, kind of visiony power that Mel is experiencing, of basically her trying to propose to Ruby and Ruby saying no, which does seem very, you know I guess I can understand why that would be a traumatizing experience. This person that you love, you are trying to move forward with them, and the relationship just kind of crumbles. I was a little bit confused, I feel like, with these visions that Mel was having, right? Like, was this a premonition? Isn't that Maggie's thing? Was this supposed to be like a time related thing? That we're seeing the past, which doesn't really make sense because it's just a memory, right? Like, what does that have to do with like magic? That could have just been a flashback, I think. Um, but I wonder if this is supposed to be some sort of maybe like an astral projection to the past that she's seeing, that maybe will eventually lead to her actually being able to control time again. So let me know what you guys think. Like, do you think that's a connection to her her time powers? If so, I think they could have done it in a different way, because it just seems like a memory, right? Like, it's her own memory. It's not like she, had a vision of something else. It was just her own memory, right? Like, I don't know. I see a bunch of you guys saying premonition. Maybe it's an extension of her time powers. Mel is Raven Baxter reversed. But again, isn't that she just had it's just her memory. Like, she experienced that. So that's why I was kind of like, thought it was a little bit of a weaker explanation, if you will. um like, yeah, she's observing something or seeing something, but like, it's a moment that she already experienced. I don't know, I think they could have done it a little bit better. But yeah, and so we also got to then actually see her finally face that moment, and talk to Ruby in real life about, you know how difficult that was for her and what really happened. Why didn't you want to be with me? And I think Ruby really just spoke the truth, which was, honestly, like, she had just given up her future baby. She had just had her sister die, and like 10 minutes later was like, "Want to get married?" That's a lot. At the same time, being with Mel was a very lonely and difficult experience, because I mean, when you think about it, Ruby didn't want to be involved in magic, right? Like, when we first met her, she wasn't even being a witch at that point anymore. She had tried to move on from that. And I feel like being with Mel forced her back into the magical world, which is something she didn't want. And instead of, actually getting to know each other as a couple, the relationship just became about Mel and saving the world and being a charmed one. And yeah, when you think about it, that makes sense that a relationship wouldn't work out if that is the situation, that the whole relationship revolves around this one person and their goals, and you never even really get to connect. um Ruby hit her with that reality brick. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's something that we all um kind of saw. We could see it, and I think it's something Mel didn't see, because maybe she had this, you know glamorized version of their relationship. But the reality is, uh Ruby never wanted to be in the world of magic, and then she kind of got forced into it. And so it made a lot of sense that their relationship didn't work. And so I thought it was nice we got to have that closure, because instead of just forgetting that things in season 2 and 3 happened, we sort of got to sort of wrap up that storyline. And like I said, I think what Ruby said, it's the truth. We all saw it, and I'm glad that they were able to just have that closure. And while Mel is able to have that closure, I feel like Maggie is still struggling and is not anywhere really close to having that closure yet, when it comes to what's going on with Macy passing, and her diving into all of this demon hunting. And I really actually liked where they went with this story for Maggie, because basically Maggie has been spending all of her time demon hunting, right? And I think this episode really showed that just because you think you know what someone's up to doesn't mean that you're right. And it turned out the tally man had been leaving all these Riddler type of tricks and, things going on to make it seem like this new, supernatural being that we met, the Lamia, was evil, when it turned out this snake-like creature was just a mother trying to protect its baby. And so if Jordan hadn't stepped in and like said something, and had Kayla say something, Maggie would have killed somebody innocent, because she didn't understand the situation. And, throughout the last few seasons, Maggie has been that person that leads with empathy. And Jordan says, like, that's what I really loved about you, is that you were an empathetic person. And now it seems like she has gone to this, dark side of just so much pain that she just wants revenge. She doesn't care who it is. And I liked that they were able to sort of give her that realization that not everybody is a bad guy just because you don't know, the Lamia's story or their background. There are people are out there, and they don't always have good intentions, and the tally man is clearly trying to set things up to pit good magical creatures against each other. And I think there could be a lot of reasons why the tally man is doing that. Maybe to literally have the charmed ones have this have no connection with the magical world, and put the magical world against them. Maybe to have people be distracted so the tally man can work on their other plan. So that they are just too busy, maybe doing things that they shouldn't be doing, like, going after the Lamia and things like that. So I just thought that was very interesting. And I liked that realization for Maggie that, like, she could have made this huge mistake. But I think while she had that realization, it's not really over yet. I mean, clearly the tally man is spying on them. We get to see that spider with like little robot eyes spying on them, observing them, monitoring what they're doing, and sort of predicting what's going to happen next. I mean, we got to see two magical creatures that were innocents, the leprechaun and the Lamia, die in this episode. I will say I wish there was a little bit more of like them trying to really save them. I feel like they kind of gave up a little bit, the charmed ones. But as much as this episode kind of gave Maggie that realization of like, maybe I need to kind of step back about this, fighting demons and fighting magical creatures when I don't always know the story. We end in a way where I'm like, is Maggie a badass, or is she turning bad? Like, some guy is catcalling her at the end of this episode while she's trying to get help. She's trying to call her therapist and be like, I need to talk to somebody because I'm clearly still struggling with these like dark emotions. And the guy's catcalling her, and she just wails on him. It was like, in the Batman, when when the Batman is like, I am vengeance, and just is like going crazy, beating everyone up. I was like, that was Maggie's Batman moment. Okay. And I was like, I don't know, like, I kind of was like, all right, go ahead, beat up this guy, like he's being a jerk. But at the same time, it's like, is this again showing, kind of going back to what we talked about a few minutes ago about Joey Falco and, who are the charmed ones as heroes? Like, is is that going to be something that Maggie is going to be struggling with, of like, yeah, you're saying you're trying to be a hero and help the magical world, but look, you're like going after innocence, or you're hurting someone who, like, maybe you're taking things a little too far. Yes, I see you guys mentioning he, called her names and, kind of cursed at her and was being creepy. Yes, absolutely. That guy probably deserved what was coming. But at the same time, it's like, is that showing that Maggie is starting to go too far? That even she's attacking like regular humans? I mean, that guy was a jerk, but you know, I don't know. There's definitely something going on there. And I'm really intrigued to see where Maggie's story continues to go. And yes, oh, great point, Kevin. There were witnesses to Maggie's beatdown. So while that guy kind of deserved it, at the same time, like, what's like, something has to happen after that, right? There has to be some kind of consequences. And will Maggie be able to get out of that situation, or is this going to, cause a bigger issue? Um, so I'm hoping that, and it sounds interesting. I see a couple of you talking about, like, is she going to go like anti-hero for a couple of episodes? It seems like that's what she's sort of been doing. And I thought this episode would maybe wake her up a little bit after she saw that situation with the Lamia, but clearly not. That girl's wailing on people. She's going full the Batman vengeance. But yeah. Jason, some great comments here. I think seeing themselves helpless and losing magical creatures, maybe they will try to solve their internal issues, train Kayla, and start saving magical innocence in the community. I think that's what's happening, and I'm hoping that it seems like the Talon is trying to pit these people against each other, but I'm hoping they'll realize what he's doing, and it seems like they are in this episode, and then again continue to like work to save magical innocence versus like in the original series where they saved human innocence. So I think that's gonna be really cool. Oh, and I think you guys have some really cool comments here about like maybe she needs to see, Dexter or Ray, or kind of get some help recentering herself. As you guys know, I'm a big fan of when they dive deeper into the family roots and what's, the other people in their lives, the fact that we got to meet Ray and Josefina and stuff like that. Like, I want them to dive deeper into those things, and maybe there could be a connection of like bringing back some of those characters to help Maggie. So I also want to talk about what's going on with Harry. We already talked a little bit about him, but this episode we see him connect with Roxy, who seems to have a similar story to Harry, where I feel like everybody now is like, we're the last of whatever species, but we still make an appearance, like the Vitria from the last episode. It was like the person came out of nowhere, but they're the last of their kind. Roxy, we learned, is it's Arcadian. We thought that there was no more White Lighters, but who knows? And in this episode, she's trying to sort of bond with Harry, form a connection, and she gives him two options. You can either take this potion that is going to basically make Kayla more malleable and able to be trained how he wants, or you can take this like weird magical mushroom basically and go on a new path for yourself. At first I was kind of like, what is he going to choose? I thought it was a bad idea that he chose the magical potion at first, because I'm like, is he going to like basically drug Kayla to get her to, be trained the way that he wants? Like, that's kind of messed up. And I think he realizes that, especially as the two of them begin to bond. And so he goes back to Roxy and is like, I'll take this magical mushroom. And then he disappears. Things get a little trippy and he disappears. So I'm like, where did he go? Can we trust Roxy? Who really is the main villain? Is it the Tallyman? Is it going to turn out that maybe Roxy or somebody else has, something under their sleeves? Yeah, so I'm curious. I want to know more what's going on. I think that there were some other fun things that went on this episode. I really liked that we got to see a little bit more of the magical club. And even though this was not a main storyline at all, I thought it was kind of fun that there was this like little mini story going on about this guy who had an enchanting singing voice at the club and like getting the ladies. And it just made me feel like there was like more magical world going on than just what we are seeing. And I kind of liked that. Not that that person has to have a big storyline. It was just like, oh, look, there's things going on in the magical world. And I found that interesting. I'm trying to think of there's if there's any other things that I wanted to talk about. I think Jordan in this episode, Jordan has really been like on the ball of like he's the one like leading, going to find out what's going on with the tally man and the leprechaun and everything. He is the one that's like, Maggie, I need you to break out of this funk that you're in, and find a way to deal with your grief. And he also, by the end of this episode, there, because of the back and forth with Maggie and Jordan, I'm like, are they still together? Are they not? I mean, they just finally got them together. So I hope that things are, I hope things are going to work out for them. I hope it's not like, okay, well, now their relationship is over because of this. But yeah, so there was a lot of fun stuff in this episode. Let me go back to some of the comments and questions you guys are talking about. So how do I feel about Michaela so far? I like Michaela so far. I like her energy. I think that she is very fun and positive. I will say I can hear Lucy Barrett's Australian accent coming in a lot. And sometimes it distracts me a little bit. I mean, it's a very small thing. I think overall her character has been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to learn more about her powers because I feel like we haven't quite learned much at all yet. And I want to see, like, how is this all going to come together? Like, how is she going to keep, using her manifestation powers and, the art and all that stuff. I like that they've teased that her best friend is still going to be a part of the show, and they're not like just kind of cutting off her world now that she's, become a charmed one. But yeah, so I like her so far, but I will say I can definitely hear the Australian accent coming in. Oh, and then there's a little bit of back and forth of like, is that guy that we saw in the background, was he an incubus? That seems wrong. Succubus, right? Succubus. I think it's succubus. Is he a succubus trying to draw their energy? Is he a siren? I was kind of getting vibes like maybe he was a siren, like maybe his voice, kind of like lured people, but who knows? Let me see what else we got here. Jordan is the charmed one at this point. Maggie and Mel are spiraling and Harry needs a vacation. Yeah, Jordan is killing it. Honestly, when Harry was kind of like, I'm gonna go do my own thing now, like, you're gonna have to find someone else to train you, Kayla. I'm like, one, could that be like, I know they've hinted that there's another white lighter that's gonna come into play. It's like, again, Harry, you are not the last one. And that was even before he wasn't the last one. There was that other lady that we found at the that hospital place that was another white lighter. So it's like, everybody's wrong. They think they're the last of their kind. They're not. But I was like, will that person train her? And or like, is Jordan just gonna like kind of be helping train on the spot? Jordan is killing it. He's really leading everything. And I think that's kind of what we needed, because in the past it seemed like Harry was always getting kidnapped, always the one getting into trouble that they needed to go save him. And I feel like Jordan's like the opposite. He's take charge. He knows what he's doing. He's looking into things. He's figuring it out. And I respect that. I respect that. But yeah. Oh, and then oh, okay. The incubus, it's a type of siren. Oh, cool. Okay. And there were sirens in that first season in the acapella group, which was very fun. Absolutely. And I did hear that we're going to have Maggie singing again in the season, so I'm excited about that. I love when they do this fun stuff. And I think that's what I have been enjoying so far about season 4, is that things are fun, and I like that they brought in Kayla, who's got like more of a fun energy, whereas in the past 2 and 3 seasons it was so dark. It was so like, oh, brooding. Like everything was a dilemma. I thought it was kind of fun that Mel got a little drunk in this episode and was like, oh shoot, now I got to go and help save Kayla. Like there was like, live your life while also trying to be, this person helping and saving in the magical world. Like I thought that was kind of funny. Or like the fact that the next episode that we got a teaser for is going to have Mel and Maggie go away like on a spa trip. Like that's fun to me. Obviously things are not going to work out, but things are going to go crazy at the spa. But I thought that was fun that we can add these storylines that are not just so serious or so like we're only focused on this one thing. Like, no, like we can have a life, we can be doing different things and kind of have these lighter tones. So I enjoyed that. And I think that's what I've been enjoying about this season so far is that, we're meeting these different magical creatures. They're coming back. You know, things are not so serious all the time, even though they're like dealing with so much grief and stuff. Like, it's just not so serious. Let me see. We got some more comments in here. Uh, Mel's drinking reminded her of Piper when she got drunk and fell out of the chair in season 4. Um, yeah, and there definitely seems to be some parallels. I don't know if it's purposeful or not, as we've discussed in the past, to that original show. I mean, there was an episode then called Lucky Charmed, and this one was called Unlucky Charmed. So it was kind of fun. Oh, and then we got some people talking about theories for Kayla. Do you think Kayla's tumor has something to do with her having powers? I'm asking because it's such a specific thing to add to a character's backstory, and I feel like it's there for a reason. Oh yeah, like her background with her cancer. Maybe. I think that there's a lot of different places we could go with um, where Kayla comes from, why does she have powers? Um, which, before I even get into that, I thought it was so funny when she and Harry were having that moment, and he's like, "Oh yeah, because you're adopted, right?" And she's like, "I'm adopted," and then she like totally like clowned him and was like, "No, I know, obviously, I'm just kidding." Like stuff like that, I really enjoy about Kayla. But when it comes to her having powers, I mean, I think there's a lot of places we could go. She was left on a firehouse step. So that could easily be, what if future Mel came back for the baby and then realized it wasn't safe and had to leave her there in a different time, knowing that maybe she would have to step in as the new charmed one. Like, who knows what future Mel knew, right? That could be interesting. There could also be something with that cancer and how did they treat that? Is there something where maybe there was some, whatever taken from a magical being like Marisol, like Macy, whether that's blood or cells or I don't know what, because I'm not a scientist, but, something that could then have been put into Kayla to heal her that also gave her powers and sort of made her a charmed one eventually. Yeah, like I see somebody mentioning like organ donor or something like that, or maybe something with cells because she had blood cancer. There's a lot of things that we could kind of speculate. I know a lot of people want her to be a sister, and I'm okay if she's not. I think it would be cool for her to have some kind of different connection. So yeah, I think that'd be really interesting. Oh, and Daisy wants to know who is Mel's future baby daddy. I mean, maybe it was some kind of donor. Maybe she just wanted to have a child and knew that child would become magical, and um, you know, just used a donor. Um, but yeah, and I think because we haven't really seen much about her power so far other than the manifestation. So who knows if like this other person is has some other magical ability like whoever her father is, but yeah, so I think that there's a lot of interesting places that they can go with it, and I'm cool with it not being the stereotypical like, oh, it's another sister. Like I'm cool with it being like something outside of the box. Like how cool would it be if it was Mel's daughter, and then you have like an even deeper connection and it's still family related. And oh, I think that would be really cool. I think that would be really cool. But yeah, so guys, I want to thank you so much for joining me to talk about this episode of Charmed. I will see you next week to talk about the next episode. And like I said, I just feel like we've been getting a lot of really cool different supernatural creatures coming in, different storylines. I'm really interested in what the Tallyman is up to. And I do want to mention again the fact that Joey Falco says people will be very surprised to see where the story goes and what the Tallyman is really about. It makes me think like, is there a connection to Kayla? I think it's gonna be really interesting. But yeah, I think right now I know there's a lot of questions like, is Michaela's father Macy's dad? Is Is Jordan Mel's baby daddy? Like, there's all these theories. I don't think we know enough yet, but I think it would be cool if this is not a blood sister, you know, if there's some kind of, I like the future baby storyline. I think that's interesting. If, you know, I mean, they say, wait, where did this come go? They say Mel's baby is in its original timeline, but how do we know that? All we knew is that the future Mel took her back. Maybe something happened. Maybe there was other things going on. They had to bring her back. Who knows? Who knows? There's a lot of theories. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts, especially on, you know, where Kayla comes from, what's going on with Mel's new power, and just how you've enjoyed these new magical creatures kind of coming into play. So make sure to leave a comment down below and let me know. And I'm excited to see where the rest of this season goes. So far, I think I'm enjoying it the most out of the most recent seasons we've gotten. So thank you guys again for joining me, and I will catch you in my next video. See ya. Consider subscribing if you like my videos, and if you want to talk more TV and movies with me outside of the comments section, check out the exclusive Discord available on my Patreon at patreon.com/kmaldo. If you like this one, you can check out more of my videos right over here. See ya!